Planned Parenthood's lawsuit against Idaho's recently adopted abortion ban doesn't have a date set yet with the state Supreme Court, but when it does, well, the state of Idaho is going to have a few more lawyers sitting at their table. Yesterday, Idaho Supreme Court approved state lawmakers' request to intervene in the case, meaning they'll have a more direct involvement, allowing the lawmakers' private attorneys to participate in hearings, make oral arguments, be part of the defense team, arguing the case right alongside the state attorneys. The motion was filed by House Speaker Scott Bedke, Senate President Pro-Tem Chuck Winder, on behalf of the legislature. The law in question is the Texas-style abortion ban, making any abortion after 6 weeks illegal, and it would allow families of the woman to sue an abortion provider for at least $20,000. The law was supposed to go into effect in 2 days, on Friday, but after Planned Parenthood of Idaho filed the lawsuit, a judge temporarily blocked it. So the question of the law's constitutionality is at the center of the lawsuit. It's a question posed by both Idaho's Attorney General and Governor, and whose opinions were pointed out by Planned Parenthood when they filed the lawsuit. Back in February, when Senate Bill 1309 was working its way through the legislature, Senator Grant Burgoyne asked the Attorney General's office for an opinion on it, specifically if 1309 violated the Equal Protection Clause of the U.S. and Idaho constitutions. The 9-page opinion said this: should a court adjudicate a challenge to the law on the merits of the restriction on abortions, well, it would likely be found unconstitutional. And with regard to the enforcement clause, under the proposed legislation, the legislature arguably would be stripping the executive branch of its constitutional charge in violation of the constitutional separation of powers. The bill passed through both chambers with a veto-proof majority very easily. Then a month ago, when Governor Little signed it into law, he did so with this caveat: while I support the pro-life policy in this legislation, I fear the novel civil enforcement mechanism will be, in short order, proven both unconstitutional and unwise. A week later, Planned Parenthood filed their lawsuit. Earlier this month, the Roman Catholic Church of Idaho asked to intervene, but that request was rejected. However, Idaho's lawmakers asked and was granted. We asked Senator Chuck Winder today why they wanted to be involved in this lawsuit. And he told us it's an important law and it's an important lawsuit. And yes, this is normally the AG's job to defend Idaho's laws, but they wanted to make sure they had the best legal minds working together.
We just felt like there are times when the legislature needs to be more directly involved, because we are the makers of the law, that we be able to really bring a case and bring the presentation that the legislature feels is appropriate.
Does it have anything to do with the fact that the AG's opinion of this law, plus what the governor wrote in signing this law, do you feel like there was a conflict there between the legislative and the executive branch when it comes to this bill and this law?
I don't personally think there was or is, even as we go forward. I think, all parties were kind of stating their best positions on it. I think the Attorney General, in their opinion, was taken into consideration with the final bill that was drafted and passed and signed into law. And the governor has a right to veto a bill. He chose not to do that. He obviously is supportive of pro-life positions. And so I think this is one of those cases where we have a chance to all work together and to try and bring this case to a successful conclusion against Planned Parenthood.
What do you say then to people who say, well, isn't this what we pay the Attorney General's office to do, is to defend these cases?
Well, of course they do, and they will defend it, and they'll defend it with the best people they have. But I also think that sometimes in the case where we get into real specific law that doesn't occur that often, it's good to have outside counsel.
It just so happens this past legislative session, lawmakers passed and Governor Little signed a bill that would make it easier for the legislature to intervene and bring private counsel in cases involving the constitutionality of Idaho's laws. Senator Winder told us they hired Danny Bauer and Monty Stewart with the law firm Stewart, Taylor, and Morris, and they will be paid through the Constitutional Defense Fund and the Legislative Legal Defense Fund, both of which lawmakers reload every legislative session with millions of dollars. Still, no court date set with the Idaho Supreme Court.